The forbidden encounter, the twin moons of Arvelis glowed softly in the night sky, painting the alien forest in silver light. A human explorer named Daniel moved carefully through the tall trees, his boots pressing into the strange, glowing moss that lit the ground. He had traveled across many worlds before, but something about this planet felt alive, as if it was watching him. Daniel had been sent here as part of a mission to study the alien colony that lived deep within these woods. His orders were simple: observe, learn, and avoid trouble, but fate had other plans. As he pushed past a curtain of vines, Daniel heard a sharp cry. It was not human. The sound carried both fear and pain. Without thinking, he rushed toward it. In a small clearing, he saw her, an alien girl, young and fragile, pinned beneath a fallen tree branch. Her skin glowed faintly in the moonlight, like soft pearl. Her long silver hair was tangled in leaves, and her violet eyes were wide with terror. She was gasping, struggling to free herself. Daniel froze. He had been told not to make contact. Humans were forbidden to interfere. But as he watched her weak hands push helplessly against the heavy branch, his heart overruled his orders. He ran forward. His strong arms gripped the log with a grunt. He lifted it just enough for her to slide. Free, she stumbled out, falling to her knees, gasping for air. For a moment, the two simply stared at each other. The alien girl's chest rose and fell quickly. Her eyes filled with shock and fear. She had seen humans before, but never this close, never touching her. "You're safe now," Daniel said softly, though he knew she could barely understand him. The girl looked at him with confusion, then with something else, something like wonder. Her people had always described humans as dangerous, selfish, and cruel. But this man had saved her. He could have left her to die, but he chose to help. The silence was broken by the distant call of voices, alien voices, searching. The girl's face turned pale. She grabbed Daniel's hand without thinking and pulled him toward the shadows of the trees. He followed, surprised by her touch. Her hand was warm, trembling, but she held on to him tightly. They hid behind thick roots as two tall alien guards appeared in the clearing. They looked around, searching for her. The girl pressed closer to Daniel. Her breathing quickened. If the guards found her with a human, the punishment would be severe. Her people did not allow contact with humans. It was forbidden. The guards looked around for a long moment, then left. Their heavy footsteps faded into the distance. Only then did the girl release Daniel's hand. Her eyes shimmered with mixed emotions, fear, gratitude, and something unspoken. She opened her mouth as if to say something, but no words came. Instead, she simply touched her chest, then pointed at him. It was a gesture of thanks. Daniel gave a small nod. He did not know her name. He did not know why he felt such a strange pull toward her. But in that moment, under the twin moons, he felt something awaken inside him. Something dangerous, something forbidden. The girl looked at him one last time, then disappeared into the trees, her silver hair flashing like light before vanishing into the dark. Daniel stood there for a long moment, his heart racing. He knew he should leave, return to his camp, and report nothing. Yet his mind kept returning to her eyes, those violet eyes filled with life and fear. That night, he could not sleep. He sat by the fire, replaying the moment over and over. He knew what he had done was wrong. He had broken the rule, but deep inside, he also knew he would see her again. He wanted to. He needed to. The forest whispered around him, and the stars burned above. A human and an alien girl. Their paths had crossed by accident, yet destiny had tied them together, and neither of them knew how dangerous this bond would become. The mother's discovery the next day on Arvalis was calm. But Daniel's heart was not. He kept thinking about the alien girl he had saved. Her violet eyes haunted his mind. Every sound in the forest reminded him of her voice. Every shadow made him wonder if she was near. He told himself to stay away, to follow his mission orders. But when evening came, his feet carried him back toward the same clearing where it had all happened. His body moved as if guided by something. Greater than him, she was there, waiting. The alien girl stood under the glowing trees, her silver hair falling across her shoulders. She looked nervous, shifting her weight. But when she saw him, a small smile appeared on her lips. It was shy, almost secret. Daniel froze. He should have walked away. He should have forgotten her, but he couldn't. This time, she tried to speak. Her voice was soft, melodic, but the words were broken. "You. Help me," she said slowly. Her accent was thick, but he understood. Daniel nodded. "Yes, I helped," he replied gently, pointing to himself, then to her. Safe, she seemed to understand. Her eyes warmed. She touched her chest. "Lyra," she said. Her name, Daniel realized. "Daniel," he introduced himself, pointing at his chest for a moment. It felt as if the distance between their worlds had vanished, but the sound of footsteps shattered that peace. Two figures appeared from the forest, walking with grace and authority. One of them was a tall woman with sharp features. Her silver hair was darker than Lyra's, braided with jewels that glowed faintly. Her violet eyes were deeper, wiser, and far more dangerous. She wore a long robe of woven threads that shimmered like liquid light. This was not just anyone. This was Lyra's mother. The older woman's gaze locked onto Daniel instantly. Her expression hardened. She stepped forward. Placing herself between her daughter and the human, her voice cut through the air, firm and commanding. The language was alien. But Daniel could feel the meaning. "Stay away, human." Lyra panicked. She tried to speak quickly in her mother's tongue, gesturing with her hands. Her voice carried urgency, as if pleading. Daniel didn't understand the words, but he understood. The tone, she was defending him. The mother's eyes narrowed. She turned toward her daughter with a look of disbelief. How could her child protect a human? Daniel raised his hands slowly, trying to show peace. "I mean no harm," he said softly, though he knew they might not understand. The mother tilted her head, studying him carefully. Her eyes softened for only a brief second, just enough for Daniel to see the loneliness behind them, but then it was gone. Hidden under layers of strength, with a sharp command, she took Lyra's arm. Pulling her back, Lyra resisted, her voice breaking. Her eyes begged Daniel to wait, to not give up. Then, as the mother turned to leave, her gaze flickered toward Daniel once more. This time, it was different. For the briefest of moments, her stern mask slipped, and Daniel saw something unexpected: curiosity. He stood frozen as the two disappeared into the glowing forest. His heart thundered. He felt torn. His mind said this was dangerous, forbidden. But his heart whispered something else. Later that night, inside the alien home, the mother questioned her daughter. The room was lit by crystal lamps that cast soft colors across the walls. The mother's voice was stern. "Why was a human with you?" she demanded in her tongue. Lyra lowered her head, her silver hair hiding her face. "He saved me," she whispered. "The tree would have crushed me." The mother frowned. She wanted to be angry. But the truth was clear. Her daughter would not be alive without him. Yet the idea of a human touching her child filled her with unease. Humans were supposed to be dangerous, untrustworthy. But this one had risked himself for Lyra. The mother stayed silent for a long time. Her heart was heavy. She remembered her own loneliness, the many nights she had wished for comfort. But she buried that thought quickly. It was too dangerous. Still, something had changed inside her. The image of the human's eyes, calm yet fierce, lingered in her mind. She tried to forget, but the memory burned stronger with each breath. Lyra, meanwhile, lay awake in her bed. Clutching her blanket, she whispered the human's name. "Daniel." Her lips curved into a secret smile. In another part of the forest, Daniel stared at the stars, his heart pulled in two directions. He didn't know it yet, but the bond he had formed with the daughter was only the beginning. The mother had seen him, judged him, and still something inside her had stirred, a forbidden spark, and soon that spark would grow into a fire no one could control. The shared secret the nights on Arvalis grew colder as the moons shifted across the sky. Daniel found himself drawn again and again to the glowing forest. His orders from Earth Command echoed in his mind, "Do not interfere with alien lives." But his heart refused to listen. Each step brought him closer to the clearing where he had first saved Lyra. He told himself. It was curiosity, but deep inside, he knew the truth. He wanted to see her again. He wanted to feel that strange connection that had started with a single touch. And she was there, waiting. Lyra stood among the glowing flowers, her silver hair catching the moonlight. When her eyes met his, they filled with warmth and relief. She ran forward without hesitation. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice soft but sure. She had practiced his name, the syllables strange but precious on her tongue. He smiled. "Lyra," he said. The sound of her name felt right. For a moment, the world outside did not exist. They spoke in broken words and gestures. She pointed at the stars, asking about his home. He drew shapes in the dirt, showing her a world far away. She laughed softly, a sound that made his chest tighten. But then, her laughter faded, her eyes lowered. She placed a trembling hand on her stomach. Her face turned pale. Daniel frowned. "What's wrong?" he asked, but she only shook her head. She struggled to form the words. Her accent was heavy, her language broken. "Life." Inside, she whispered, touching her belly. "Yours." The meaning struck Daniel like lightning. His breath caught. He stared at her, trying to understand. She nodded slowly, her violet eyes shining with fear and wonder. "You carry my child?" Daniel asked, his voice shaking. Lyra bit her lip and nodded again. Her hands trembled as she held her stomach. She was scared, but also strangely calm, as if the truth had to be spoken no matter the cost. Daniel staggered back, his mind raced. This was impossible, human and alien. It shouldn't happen, yet she stood before him, living proof. "I didn't know," he whispered. I never thought. His words broke. Lyra reached for his hand, pressing it against her stomach. Her skin was warm, and beneath it, he thought. He felt the faintest rhythm. He looked at her, at the trust in her eyes, and something inside him shifted. Fear mixed with awe, guilt tangled with responsibility. But above all, there was connection. The sound of footsteps snapped him out of the moment. Lyra's eyes widened in panic. She pulled him behind the glowing trees. Her breathing quickened through the branches. Daniel saw her mother. The tall, regal woman moved silently, her eyes scanning the forest. She seemed to know something was wrong. Her presence was heavy, commanding. Lyra trembled beside Daniel. Her lips parted as if to call out, but she stayed silent. If her mother discovered the truth now, everything would end. The mother paused near the clearing. Her sharp gaze flickered across the flowers. Her expression was stern, but her eyes carried something deeper, something restless. She turned slowly, as if sensing the bond between her daughter and the human, but she did not see them. Not yet. Finally, she walked away, her steps fading into sit. The night, Lyra sagged with relief. Daniel pulled his hand away gently. His heart was still pounding. "We can't," he began, but the words died. Lyra's eyes stopped him. They were filled with both fear and courage. "Secret," she whispered, holding a finger to her lips. "Our secret," Daniel nodded, though the weight of that secret pressed heavy on his chest. A secret that could destroy both of them. That night, as Lyra returned to her home, her mother studied her carefully. The older woman's eyes narrowed at the way her daughter carried herself, the way her hand lingered near her belly. Something Has changed? The mother whispered to herself. Her heart tightened. She remembered the human's eyes. The way he had looked at her, so strange, so dangerous, yet so honest in her dreams that night. She saw him again. She tried to push that thought away, but it clung to her. And when she woke, her own hand pressed against her stomach without her realizing. The secret had begun, a secret not only between Daniel and Lyra, but one that would soon pull the mother into its fire. The bond was no longer just forbidden. It was unstoppable. Dangerous confession. The alien nights grew heavy with secrets. Lyra carried hers like a fragile flame in the dark. Daniel carried his like a stone on his chest. And the mother-in-law felt the whispers of something she could not yet name. Daniel wandered the forest again, unable to rest. He replayed Lyra's trembling words in his mind. Life inside, yours. The thought terrified and amazed him. Could two species truly cross such a line? And if it was true, what would happen when her people found out? He sat near the glowing river, the sound of flowing water calming his racing thoughts. That was when he heard footsteps behind him, firm and deliberate. He turned and his heart froze. Erola stood there, the mother of the girl he had saved. Her silver hair glowed under the twin moons, her violet eyes sharp as blades. She did not look frightened like Lyra had. She looked powerful, commanding, dangerous. For a long moment, neither spoke. The air was tense, filled with unspoken truths. Finally, Erola stepped closer, her gaze never leaving him. You, she said slowly, her voice deep and steady. Her accent bent the word, but he understood. Daniel raised his hands in peace. I don't want trouble, he said softly. Her eyes narrowed. She studied him like a hunter studies prey. Then, her lips pressed together, and she asked in her language, words broken but clear enough, "What are you doing with my daughter?" Daniel's chest tightened. He tried to answer, but his throat was dry. I saved her, he whispered. That is all. But Erola stepped even closer. Her presence was overwhelming. Her beauty was striking, regal. But her stare carried warning. Not all, she said firmly. Her hand gestured to his chest. Then, toward the woods where Lyra often met him, Daniel's heart pounded. He wanted to lie, to say nothing. But guilt burned inside him. He looked into Ariela's eyes cold, and bright tan something inside him broke. I love her, he confessed. His voice was low, shaking. I don't know how it happened, but I can't stop it. The words hung heavy in the night air. Ariela froze. Her breath caught. Her eyes widened for a fraction of a second before she quickly hid the reaction. Her lips tightened, her body stiffened. She wanted to rage, to scold, to command him to leave and never return. But she couldn't, because something inside her twisted painfully at his words. Love, a human had spoken. Love for her daughter, and deep inside, Erola felt an ache of envy. She tried to fight it, but the feeling grew stronger. She had lived many years as a leader, a protector, a mother. Yet she had lived many years alone. No man of her people had touched her heart in decades. She had buried her longing in duty, but now, standing before this human, something strange pulled at her love. She repeated, the words soft on her lips, almost broken. She turned away. Hiding her face from him, Daniel lowered his head, guilt rushing through him. I never wanted this, he whispered. But it happened, and now. He stopped himself. Erola turned sharply. Now what? She demanded. Her eyes searched him, and for the first time, Daniel saw not only anger, but also pain. He swallowed hard. Now your daughter carries my child, he admitted. Erola staggered back, as if the ground had struck her. Her eyes widened, her breath came fast. No, she whispered, but Lyra's trembling hands, her guarded movements, the way she had held her belly, it all came back to Erola in a flood. Her chest tightened, Her mind screamed at her to cast him away. But her heart, her lonely, aching heart, did something unthinkable. It longed. She stared at him for a long moment, then whispered words she never thought she would say. And me. Her hand pressed slowly against her own stomach, her eyes shimmering with something fierce and forbidden. Daniel froze, his heart hammered. You? He whispered in disbelief. Arella's face burned with shame and pride, all at once. Yes, she said with finality. I carry as well. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Two worlds collided in silence. A mother and a daughter, both tied. To the same human, Daniel's knees weakened. He covered his face with his hands. This is madness, he whispered. This cannot be. But Areola stepped closer, her voice trembling. It is truth. Her eyes locked onto his, and for the first time, the walls of duty and fear around her heart cracked. Her confession hung in the air like fire, burning both of them. The bond had gone beyond forbidden. It had become unthinkable, and from this moment, nothing could ever return to the way it was. The storm of judgment, the secret could not stay hidden forever. For many nights, Daniel met with Lyra in silence, speaking softly under the glowing trees. He felt the weight of every touch, every stolen glance. Behind her smiles, he saw her fear. Behind his courage, he hid his guilt. And behind them both stood Areola, mother watching, waiting, carrying her own secret, but secrets always find. The light, it began when a villager saw Daniel leaving the forest. His strange human form moving in the moonlight. The whispers spread like wildfire. The human is too close to us. The human walks with the young one. By morning, the whole colony buzzed with suspicion. Alien elders gathered, voices sharp. This must end. One declared, the human is dangerous. He poisons our bloodline. He threatens our ways. Areola sat among them, silent but trembling. Her eyes hid storms no one could see that night. When Daniel returned to the clearing, he found guards waiting. Tall alien warriors with spears that glowed like fire, they surrounded him. Their voices harsh, commanding. Daniel raised his hands. Please, I mean no harm, he begged. But his words carried little weight in their ears. To them, he was a trespasser, a corrupter, a danger to their children. Lyra appeared, rushing forward. No, she cried in her language, throwing herself between him and the guards. Her voice cracked with desperation. Her hands trembled as she clutched his arm. The elders pushed closer, their eyes cold. Explain. They demanded, their gazes burned. Into her, into him, and then Lyra could no longer hide the truth, with tears streaming. She touched her stomach. Her voice broke as she said the words her people feared most. I carry his child. The clearing erupted. The guards shouted. The elders gasped. Women covered their mouths. Men growled with fury. The human had crossed the unthinkable line. Daniel felt the world collapse around him. His knees weakened. His eyes searched for Lyra, but she only clung to him tighter. Trembling, Areola stepped forward. Her heart pounding, she saw her daughter's shame, her people's rage. And the man at the center of it all, she wanted to be silent, to let the storm consume him. But something stronger pushed her forward. She raised her hand, and the crowd quieted. Her voice rang out like steel. If you curse her, curse me too. All eyes turned, confusion flashing. Why? The elders demanded. Areola's lips parted, her chest rising and falling quickly. And then she spoke the truth that froze the air, because I too carry his life inside me. Silence. The forest itself seemed to hold its breath. The crowd stood in shock, faces twisted. Between horror and disbelief, two women, mother and daughter, pregnant by the same human. The elders erupted into rage. This is corruption. This is blasphemy. He must die. Daniel's heart thundered. He stepped in front of them. "If you must take someone, take me," he said. His voice steady, "Spare them," but the words only fueled the chaos. The crowd split. Some shouted for blood. Others whispered of prophecy. Perhaps this bond is not curse, but bridge. Lyra clung to Daniel, sobbing. Her small voice cracked. "Don't hurt him." Irola stood tall, though her heart trembled. "You see him as monster," she declared. "But he saved my daughter. He gave her life. He gave me hope." Her eyes burned into the elders. "Will you kill the one who risked himself for us?" The council was torn. Never before had such a thing happened. The laws said exile or death. But their hearts whispered confusion. One elder pointed at Daniel. "This human will destroy us," he spat. Another elder shook her head slowly. "Or, he may unite us," she murmured. The shouting grew louder. The villagers argued, families divided. Some demanded Daniel's death to cleanse the shame. Others, strangely, spoke of mercy, of new beginnings. Daniel felt the noose of judgment tighten. Around him, every face burned into his memory. Fear, hope, despair. Finally, the head elder raised his hand. Silence fell. His ancient eyes glowed in the moonlight. "The council will decide," he said firmly. "The human's fate will be judged." Daniel, Lyra, and Irola were dragged to the great hall. The voices of the crowd followed them, heavy with hatred and doubt that night as they sat together in the stone chamber. Lyra pressed against Daniel's shoulder, whispering, "We will be strong." Her eyes, though wet with tears, still held courage. Irola sat across from them, her hands resting. On her stomach, her eyes met Daniel's. For the first time, no words were needed. Both knew what the other felt: fear, guilt, but also an unshakable bond. Outside, the alien colony burned with anger. But inside the chamber, 3 lives waited for judgment, and the storm was only just beginning. A choice between worlds. The great hall of Arvalis was silent, except for the sound of the council's footsteps. Ancient walls glowed faintly with crystals, casting shifting colors across the stone floor. Daniel stood in chains of light, Lyra by his side, trembling. Irola across from them, tall and defiant. The alien elders filled the circle, their robes flowing like rivers of silver. Their violet eyes burned as they looked upon the human. Their voices carried the weight of centuries. "This creature has broken our laws," one elder thundered. "He has touched what was forbidden. He has planted his seed in not one but 2 of our kind. This cannot be forgiven." Lyra clutched Daniel's hand. "No, he saved me," she cried. "Without him, I would be dead under the tree." Her voice shook but held truth. "He gave me life, not ruin." The council murmured. Some leaned forward, curious. Others sneered in anger. Irola stepped forward, her robe brushing the floor. "You call him a curse," she said, her voice low, but powerful. "But when was the last time one of us risked their life for another without reward? He carried the weight of a tree to save my daughter." Her eyes flashed. "And when I felt loneliness, when my heart was empty, he gave me hope." The chamber erupted in whispers. Some elders turned their faces in shame. Others scowled with fury. Daniel's chest tightened. He felt their judgment pressing down like a storm. He knew this was bigger than him now. It was about 2 worlds colliding. An elder rose, her hair silver as snow. Her voice was calm but sharp. "If we allow this bond, we risk everything. We're purity, our way of life, our honor." She pointed at Daniel. "But if we kill him, we risk something greater, the chance for peace with his kind." The hall fell into silence again, a choice between destruction and unity. Daniel finally spoke. His voice echoed through the chamber. "I never meant to break your laws," he said, his words slow, his eyes steady. "I came here to learn. Not to harm, but your daughter's life mattered more than my orders." I chose to act, and in choosing, I found love. His eyes swept across the council. I know I don't belong. I know you see me as danger. But my heart tells me something different. Maybe what we fear most is what we need most. The words struck the air like a blade. The head elder leaned forward, his old face unreadable. And what of the children? He asked coldly. Half of us, half of you creatures of neither world, will they be monsters or will they be bridges? Lyra's voice trembled as she answered. They will be bridges. She placed her hand on her stomach. They are not shame, they are future. Irola followed, her chin lifting with pride. If you cannot see that, then perhaps it is not. The human who threatens our people, but your fear, the chamber shook with gasps. The courage of mother and daughter struck like fire through the silence. The elders argued among themselves. Voices clashing like thunder. Some shouted for exile. Others demanded blood. A few whispered of prophesying old legend that spoke of children born of two worlds who would bring balance. At last, the head elder raised his hand. The room silenced instantly. His eyes were heavy, his voice deep. The council has chosen Daniel's. Heart stopped. Lyra gripped his arm tighter. Irola stood tall, though her breath came fast. The elder's voice rang out. The human will not be killed. Gasps filled the hall. But he cannot remain among us freely. He will live on the edge of our lands. Apart from our people, watched, judged, his bond with these two will stand, but he will carry the burden of it forever. Daniel's knees nearly gave out with relief. It was not freedom, but it was life. Lyra buried her face against his arm, whispering, "We are safe." Her tears wet his sleeve. Irola's chest rose and fell slowly. She gave a single nod. Though her eyes still burned with fire, the hall emptied. The voices of the people carried through the streets. Some shouted curses, others spoke in awe. The colony was divided that night. Daniel stood outside the hall, staring at the alien sky. His heart ached with the weight of the choice. He had not been killed, but he was not truly free. He belonged. Nowhere neither to Earth nor to Arvalis. Lyra slipped her hand into his, her soft voice whispering, "Where you are, I will be." Her eyes shone with trust. Irola stepped beside them, her presence strong. She looked at Daniel, then at the stars. Her voice was steady. "We are outcasts now," she said, "but sometimes outcasts are the ones who change the world." Daniel's chest tightened. He looked at them, mother and daughter, both carrying his children. Both tied to him by fate. He felt fear. He felt guilt. But he also felt a strange kind of hope. The choice had been made. He had been spared. But at what cost? As the twin moons rose higher, one thing was certain. The bond was no longer only theirs. It was a choice between two worlds, and the weight of that choice had only just begun. The unthinkable bond exile was not easy. Daniel, Lyra, Kay and Irola were given a small dwelling at the edge of the alien colony. Far from the glowing halls and crystal towers, the house was built from stone and vine. Simple, but strong, it was not home, not yet, but within its walls, 3 lives tried to shape a future. Days passed slowly. The colony watched them from a distance, some with hate, some with curiosity. Children whispered when they saw Daniel gather wood. Elders turned away when Lyra walked past, yet no one dared attack them. For the council's word was final. Inside the home, life was different. Daniel cared for both mother and daughter, bringing food, repairing the roof. And sitting by the fire when the cold nights came, he felt the weight of 2 worlds pressing on him, but he also felt something he had never known before: family. Lyra grew quieter as her belly swelled. Her hands often rested on the new life inside her. Her violet eyes glowed with hope and fear. "Will they hate my child?" she asked Daniel one evening, her voice small. Daniel touched her hand gently. "No matter what they say, We will love them." His words were steady, though deep inside, he carried the same fear. Arola watched them silently. Her own stomach, also, carried the proof of her bond with the human. She was older, wiser. But even she felt the tremor of uncertainty. Yet when she looked at Daniel, she saw not only guilt, but also strength. She had not expected to feel this way, not after years of silence in her heart. But he had awakened something she thought was long dead. The seasons changed. The forest grew heavy with rain, and then came the night of birth. Lyra cried out first, her young body trembling with pain. Daniel rushed to her side, his hands shaking. As he tried to comfort her, "I'm here," he whispered again and again. His heart pounded with every scream. Arola, despite her own pain, guided her daughter, her voice firm and soothing. "Breathe, hold strong, you are not alone." Hours passed. And at last, a child's cry broke the night. A small infant with soft pale skin and faint glowing eyes lay in Daniel's arms. The first hybrid of human and alien. The first proof that their bond was real. Lyra wept with joy, reaching for her baby. "My son," she whispered, her tears falling onto his tiny face. But the night was not over. Arola's labor began soon after. Her voice shook. Her body stronger, but still pushed to its limits. Daniel stayed by her side as well, his hands gripping hers. His heart could barely hold the weight of it. 2 lives, 2 loves, both in his care. And then, another cry filled the room. A second infant, smaller, but fierce. Her violet eyes opening for the first time, Arola held her child close, her lips trembling as she whispered, "My daughter." Her eyes shone with pride. With tears, with unspoken feelings, she looked at Daniel, and for once, she did not hide the truth, gratitude, longing, and love to children born of one human. One daughter and one mother. The unthinkable bond had taken shape. News spread quickly. Villagers whispered of monsters, of curses, but some whispered of miracles. They had never seen such children before. Fragile yet strong, carrying both bloodlines. The council sent messengers to see them. The elders stood at the doorway, staring at the infants. Some frowned in disgust, others could not look away. These children should not exist. One elder said sharply, "But they do." Another whispered, unable to hide her. Awed, Daniel stepped forward, his voice steady. "You may call them curse or miracle, but they are here. They are living, breathing. They are not monsters. They are our future." The elders said nothing more. They left in silence, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Perhaps the human was not a destroyer. Perhaps he was something else. As weeks passed, the colony began to soften. Some women visited secretly, bringing food or cloth, curious to see the babies. They left whispering of beauty, of hope. Lyra sang to her son each night, her voice soft and sweet. Daniel watched her with quiet pride. Arola rocked her daughter, her eyes often meeting Daniel's in the firelight. Neither spoke of love aloud, but it lived in the silence between them. One evening, Daniel stood outside their home, looking at the stars. He felt the weight of all that had happened. He had broken laws, defied worlds, and carried guilt heavy as stone, but he also felt something stronger. He had built a family where none should have existed. Lyra stepped beside him, holding her baby. Arola joined them, her daughter in her arms. Together they stood under the twin moons, a human, an alien mother, an alien daughter, and 2 children that defied every rule. For the first time, Daniel whispered the truth. Maybe this is what the universe wanted. Neither Lyra nor Arola answered with words. They only held their children closer. The world might never accept them. The colony might always be divided. But here, at the edge of 2 worlds, a new beginning had been born. The unthinkable bond was no longer secret or shame. It was life. It was hope, it was family. And in that moment, Danyo knew they had not destroyed two worlds. They had created something stronger.